I replaced this trailing arm here because the other one was crap. All of the little little ball joints here are absolutely ruined. So I go to take this one off, and of course, okay, watch the ball joint as I turn this. Okay, and as I continue to loosen it, notice how the gap there increases in size. Sorry, it's blurry. Well, that's because it's basically just compressing this. So now I have to somehow, I don't know what to do. The car is on here. I installed this new servo. It's about the same speed as the old Traxxas one. The Traxxas one was on its way out. This one here, can't call it particularly fast. I've used a couple of these in the past. They seem to work really well, so I hope it works in this thing here. I put the belly back on this thing and then get it ready for a test drive. Allow me to show you just a few of the parts that have been removed from the UDR. I'll tell you this much. It may have been beat and rusty and utterly trashed, but man, did that thing live a life. I'll tell you that much. Oh, God. Cannot get over this. That's the big pieces. I still cannot get this thing out. So looking at the lower control arm, this piece moves with a relative ease. It's not exactly easy, but it's ease. This one doesn't. This is completely severed in the front. Even these trailing arms, I mean, that one moves okay, but it's so notchy. This one here, oh God. And then even these, I was like, oh, I can just wire wheel the rods. No, these end links are complete. Well, that one's actually moving a bit. I don't know, maybe I can try and salvage these, but I guess it just, I'm gonna have to throw the whole end. No, there's no point, absolutely no point. Now this drive shaft isn't rusty, but there is nothing left here. These are so sloppy, it's ridiculous. But man, look at the wear on the end of this drive shaft here. This has seen a life. This one's actually bent. This is the rust sitting on top of the vinegar of the screws on the UDR, the Traxxas UDR that belonged to Shodog. Wow, that's crispy. This thing is looking way better. You can see that almost every single screw on this car has been completely vinegared. So, you know, there's very little disgusting left on the truck. What I did notice, as we mentioned before, is the rear axle is broken. And my plan is to simply install the rear axle from my UDR and put a new housing on this. I'll put the nice aluminum one on it. But then it occurred to me that this thing makes weird noises here. So I don't want to put a crappy rear end in my truck. Let's go ahead and rip this rear end out, disassemble it, see how it looks inside, order the corresponding components, and then we'll slap my rear end on this once we get the replacement parts and rebuild it. It is mostly, I think it's mostly unscrewed. A couple here. And again, you can see that a lot of this hardware has been stripped down. It's looking a heck of a lot better. All right, I'm gonna pull the tires off and rip the axle open. Let's see how it looks. Pull these out. These are trash. This should just pull right off. Yep, there he goes. Oh wait, you have to pull the axles out first, I believe. There we go. I'm pretty sure the axles have to, oh, there's one of them there. I'm already seeing a bunch of crap right here. Remember, that's inside the axle. A little bit of rust. That's not a good sign either. The splines don't look too bad. Pull this side out here. Oh God, this bearing sounds like crap too. Okay, I think now, oof. Oh, Oh boy. Wow. The planetary gears don't sound brilliant either. I gotta say, these don't look horrible, but I'm replacing them. Okay, so we've got 4 more screws here, and that'll pull the planetary enclosure open. Well, the planetary side looks perfectly clean. There's nothing in there. The bearings are just toast. It feels like it needs lubricant. I am absolutely going to replace. Yeah, you can see how much wear is on this. There's a lot of wear here. So we're going to place, this is usually known as the pinion. And at that point, you might as well replace the ring gear as well. These bearings feel pretty good. They're stuck. But they feel fine. I believe the ring unscrews. Yeah, I think you just pull these 4 off and the ring comes off. Honestly, I mean, I could just put some new planetary gears in here. You might as well, right? It's probably seen quite a lot of use. So let's get the planetary gear set over here. It's likely this is going to be a 2mm Allen. These are M2.5s. Okay, and with the last one coming out here, should have to pull this composite piece out. There are 4 sealed bearings. Well, here's the deal. I don't know if this is black grease or if it is just the planetary gears. It really doesn't look particularly well lubricated at all. Now, granted, you don't want this thing packed in grease because that just creates resistance. The play between the planetary gears and the sun gear, it seems acceptable. Like, I don't see anything too crazy. The ring gear looks pretty good too. I don't see this as being in need of a rebuild. What I will do is completely clean it out and then give it some lubrication. I don't know. We'll see how much they cost, and maybe we'll just replace the whole thing anyway. Why not, right? It's just these 4 gears, the input sun gear here. Maybe I just will. I mean, this thing's seen a lot of use. Got some parts from Traxxas. Let us see how we can make things better. Here's some bearings. Here are some shock rebuild parts. Well, those will be for a later date. Okay, now I have to remember how to reassemble the rear axle. As the axle needed a housing, and I didn't want to bother buying a plastic one, so that is the axle we're going to build. This is going to go into my UDR, and hopefully it's not crap. This was a fairly cheap unit that I found on eBay, and I've had good luck so far with everything that I bought for this truck. The real question is, when will my luck run out? These threads are a little bit stiff. Don't know what that means. Anyway, I'm going to unscrew these and I'll be back. These all came out pretty well. I don't see any residual aluminum in here as if they just threaded right in. They did tap these, which is good. I have seen plenty of aluminum housings that they had just self-tapped in the past. So that is not the case here. Seems that we'll have to assemble the planetary gears in here first, and then we'll slot everything in there, in there, in there. Wish I would have caught this on camera. This tube of Tamiya grease exploded at me. This is what I was going to put inside the planetary gears as I cleaned them out previously. So now I'll attempt to take these screws back out with grease on my finger. Greased everything, including the entire workbench, my hands, and the MIP driver, so that's outstanding. Okay, so that's going to go crap. Oh my God, stay there. We're going to have to put the bearings back in. rear end is installed. It went in relatively well. One minor issue, the ring gear was coming into contact with the back of the case. Now this was the cheapest rear end axle on eBay, so you get what you pay for. I'm also going to go ahead and install the Ampro working fans. Now, if you're interested in these, there is a video linked right there, which will walk you through the entire process. I'm going to ignore all of that because I've done it before. I painted this panel here red, just, you know, because. And we have our fans right there. So I'm going to pop this in. Now all the shocks are rebuilt. I didn't do that on camera because that's just boring. However, I decided to pull the front diff out of the car because I figured I might as well do it while the body was off. And so basically you're supposed to remove the stub axle. Where the hell is it? This little hub here is an M2.5. That side came out fine. The other side I was able to wiggle out, but if you look in there, which you probably can't see, I know there's a screw in there. I just can't find it. So I was able to finagle. Oh, there it is. Oh God, that was never going to come out. I was able to wiggle this thing out. Oh God, that is crunchy. Okay, now the screw's out. I'll pull the hub out. And this is what would allow you to just pull the entire differential out. I believe you could technically throw this in the rear and ditch the spool. I mean, you kind of don't want to do that because it's a little bit not as good off-road and less slidey. But that's technically what would open up the diff. All right, so I've got the ring gear unscrewed, and I suspect that this plastic housing should be housing a bunch of grease because there's a O-ring. Oh, there it goes. So this has got oil in it. They appear to be in really good shape. I was just curious if it needed any love, but they're immaculate. I was just concerned that we'd see some crud. Just cleaning out these axles here. They're kind of a mess. I'm going to use a little brass wire brush also just to try and get some of that corrosion off, and then we'll throw this back in. So we'll just take that and just feed it right. Oh, I've dropped it. I dropped it in there. There it goes. Right? Yeah, that's in. Put a little bit of lube on you, and then I think we'll be good. Well, the car is back together and pretty much ready to go. What I want to do is make this body look a little bit less terrible. And to do that, given the incredible thickness of this body, like here's a chunk of it right there I've taken out. It's well over 1 millimeter thick. Oh, it's pretty meaty. I'm just going to sand down the corners. So I'm going to use some 300 grit sandpaper, and you can actually do this to a body that has damage and just work your way from perhaps 600 all the way down to something of 10,000 grit sandpaper. I've got these little pads that I use when doing that, but for this, we're not going to do that. We're just going to try and get some of the brown out of here. Here's some 600 grit sandpaper, and I don't know, nothing may happen or it'll look a little bit better. Who knows? What you're seeing on the roof here, all these scratches here, these aren't scratches. These are incredibly deep gouges. I mean, the X-Acto is just dropping straight in these things and not wanting to come out. So yeah, these I think we're not gonna be able to get rid of. However, if you look at the roof, I mean, look at here versus here. You can see that it's a lot less brown. So it's not perfect. By no means was I expecting to get perfect, but it's better. Kind of same with over here at the front. Notice how, you know, relatively white it is versus over here where it's got a lot more, you know, dirt and road rash jammed into it. So I'm gonna continue this a bit longer and slap it on the car. Well, now that we have the driver's heads on, both of our Chris Hemsworth, I think, are ready to have a body slapped on this thing. Now the back tires are in the way. That's just kind of how the UDR is. So we'll just pull those off again real quick and reinstall our slightly less crap body.